Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. The new demo for Gunforged is getting very, very close. I may even be able to release it this weekend, but I probably won't release it on the weekend. Actually, I'll probably release it early next week, but It's getting very, very close. The game is in, I think, a really good state. And I've just got a couple of things to finish up and finalize before that demo is ready. And once again, that updated version of the Gunforge demo is going to be very representative of the final game. So outside of some minor things happening, nothing major is going to change in terms of the mechanics or the game feel or the flow. So it's going to be a very representative example of what the full game is going to feel like. So that's what we're going to be working toward today, is just getting that, continuing to work towards getting that ready to go. And before I get into it, I want to mention again that if you want to support my work, please check out the links in the description below. Of course, you can wishlist Gunforged, which will be out within the next couple of months. Really, all I have to do for Gunforged is just make a bunch of content now, fill out the rest of the game to add some meat to it. And otherwise, you can purchase my Udemy courses. The links for those are also in the description below. If you'd like to learn how to build a complete game in the Godot engine, those would be for you. So with all of that out of the way, let's get right into it. Hello, Arion. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. Hello. Welcome back to you as well, Crucifix. Good to see you. Okay, so I've got my little board here, and it's got a number of things that need to be done. This morning I was working on sound effects, but we're not going to be doing that on this stream. So there's this to-do list here that needs to be worked through. So I'm just going to probably work through it. So let's tackle this easy one first. Add bullet impact effects to entities layer rather than bullets layer. So I think that's going to be as simple as going to the bullet component, looking for that bullet impact. And then, yeah, it's being added to the bullets layer here, just getting added to the entities layer. And that the reason I'm doing that is for Y-sorting purposes. Actually, that doesn't look great either, because the bullets, so I got a little bit of a Y-sort problem here. So the bullets render on top of everything for clarity purposes, but when they hit, oh, maybe that's not a good change. The main problem is that when I go up against something like this and I start shooting, previously, when I add the bullets, these impact effects to the bullets layer, they just appear on top of the thing. And that's not exactly right. So if I go into here and I do this, you see how the impact effects are just kind of like appearing on top of it. Now that's not really going to be a problem, not really noticeable anyway, except in the hub area. But there are some situations like here where it'd be the same deal, where you can see the bullet impact effects above. Now what I could do is I could Y-sort the bullets themselves, and I was doing that at one point. So if I keep that on the bullets layer, what I was doing is, if I go to my base level, this is where my bullet layer would be. Oh no, base room, I think. Yeah, so I've got my bullets layer here. This whole thing under Y-sort origin has Y-sort enabled, and each of these things kind of has Y-sort enabled as well. Or at least the entities do. So if I turn on Y-sort enabled for the bullets, the problem is that the ordering gets weird with the shadows. So the shadows are indicating a certain position. Is that even working? Hold on, I gotta see if this is even working here. Is that not working? Did I not? Y-sort enabled is on. Just Y-sort problems, you know? Y-sort enabled is on. I've got some Y-sort issues here. Oh, my z-index is still 1. Whoops. Right. I want my z-index to be 0 here. Getting the draw order correct is a little bit difficult sometimes. Okay, anyway. Hello, Northern Born. Almost done with the Udemy C# one. I had the Tiny Swords pack for a few months now. Couldn't find the motivation to stick something together in Unity. Well, there you go. How did you like it? Are you did you enjoy the course, or are you still enjoying it? Hello, Suhid. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I keep going back and forth on how this Y sorting should be working, but I don't know. Maybe I can get something. So this looks better now. The problem now is that it's not quite accurate. And the reason is because the way the bullets are constructed, if I look at the bullet component, so the origin is here, right in the center, so zeroed out, but the shadow component is below it here. And really when you're Y sorting something, it should kind of be based on where the ground position is. So really, the origin should be around where the shadow component is because there's some elevation, right? So that's kind of what's throwing it off, but maybe it'll be appropriate still. It might be fine still. Let me see. I don't know, the Y sorting is a freaking mess in this game. Maybe it's not bad. It might be fine. The question is not really how accurate it is. The question is mostly what feels the best for the player. Let's go to the graveyard and see what's up. So that's all looking good. Yeah, I might just, even though the Y sorting is not quite accurate with the shadows, I'm not sure that that's going to be a huge deal because you're not really going to notice it that much. It might be more noticeable with some different weapons here. Oh, I can't. Oh, I gotta go here. It might be noticeable with some different weapons here. So something that's more slow moving. But even still, it's probably fine. Yeah, it's probably all right, honestly. So maybe I'll just keep that Y sorting in place because it fixes a lot of my issues without sacrificing too much. So now that might be a problem where it's sometimes hard to see the enemy bullets. I'd have to see. I'd have to test that. Let's try it. Let's try a more hectic. We'll try a more hectic playthrough. One thing I've been thinking about is that for web dev, Godot is easier to understand and get used to it. Is that true? I have a lot of web dev experience, but I wouldn't say that my introduction to game dev was after I'd been exposed to web dev, so I can't really... I wouldn't really know, but if that's true, that's that's good to know, because I can recommend Godot much better for web devs now. Hello, Neozoid. Is the footstep sound from Sonus GDC sound pack? There is no footstep sound. Is there a specific sound you're referring to? I started enjoying it the most once getting to the UI stuff, and after, I think the first bit is targeting much newer devs, which is fair. I was happy you went over type extensions and Lambda expressions. Gotcha, yeah. That's good. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have you tried Writer? I'm hoping for a Black Friday sale. Yeah, I used Writer for a little bit because VS Code was getting really slow with C#. So I used Writer, which made things a lot faster. And then I switched back to VS Code when they released their new C# extension, which is much, much faster. So I'm back to VS Code. I like Writer. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know, there's something about VS Code that feels so comfortable to me. So I just tend to use VS Code whenever possible. Yeah, so the problem here with the Y sorting now is that the enemy bullets now are, they can get obstructed by other enemies and makes them hard to see. So that's a problem. So that's probably why I originally made the bullets. That's probably why I originally made the bullets just render above everything. But I think I'm gonna go for a both and approach. I'm gonna have a bullets layer that's Y sorted for the player, but then I'll do an enemy bullets layer for the enemy bullets that's not Y sorted. I'm a madman. But I think that's going to be the best of both worlds, because then I'm going to get the clarity that I need from the enemy bullets. They're going to render on top of everything so the player can always see where they are. But then the player bullets are going to be properly ordered, because it's not as important to see where your own bullets are going. You just need to fire them at enemies and then they'll hit. The other problem that the other thing is that the ordering problem is kind of avoided, because enemy bullets can phase through other enemies, but your bullets don't really do that unless you've got like the bullet split rune. So I think that this is going to be a better approach. So I'm going to call this one enemy bullets. Ordering, turn off Y-sort Z index to 1. And then let's go ahead and grab that enemy bullets enemy bullets node. And then where am I adding the bullets to the scene tree? So bullet component, that's fine. Hurtbox component, that's also fine. Shock grenade affix. The bomb, this probably needs to be enemy bullets. I'm gonna have to try that with the gun stats. This needs to change if gun stats dot is enemy from faction equals enemy. Okay, let's see if any of that works. So it's a little bit more for me to keep in mind now where there's like a difference between where the enemy bullets need to go and where the player bullets need to go. But I think that that's going to solve my issues that I'm having here. Oh, there's no running sound. I thought I heard one. Yeah, maybe there should be a running sound, but I don't know. Was that C# thing like a year or two ago? I feel like I had a ton of issues because of plugins and was recommended writer. Yeah, it was around, I would say around a year or two ago. I think really only for like the past 6 months or so has the C# stuff in VS Code been dramatically improved. Like it's relatively new. So if you're thinking a year or two ago, then yeah, that would have been when VS Code had a lot of problems with C#. Okay, so are all the bullets rendering on top of the enemies now? Yes. Let's try spawn bomber 20. I want to see how this looks. Yeah, so those are all rendering on top as well, which is good. So the important thing is that the player always needs to be able to see the dangerous things. And so that's why all these bullets are rendering. Oh my goodness, no. No, I'm gonna die. Oh my gosh, this would actually be kind of a fun game mode. Give the player like a lot of stamina and give the player a lot of health. Oh, a little bit too hard. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with that solution. It's a little bit of a compromise. So I'm just going to run this again. So yeah, so now I've fixed the issue with the, the bullet impact effects. Although now there's a problem here. Why are those bullet impact effects not rendering in front of this one? I don't know. So there's no bullet impact effects happening here. That might be because of some Y-sorting stuff. Oh yeah, it is because of some Y-sorting stuff. So I'm gonna need to figure that out. Oh wait, that one works fine. Okay, so always something, always something. Okay, so tiles, dungeon. Let me take a look at the Y-sort origin. It's in the center for that. Where is the Y tiles hub? Interesting. Oh, you know what? It's because physics layer 0. No, that's right. Physics layer 1. Physics layers. Oh, do I have this backwards? Wait a minute. This is so confusing. No, that's correct. Why isn't that working then? I just remember opening up VS to write some code one morning and everything was on fire. Tried writer and it just used And just use VS with LSPs turned off instead. Yeah, that makes sense. Survive as long as you can and have a leaderboard, yeah. Why are these disappearing against this? Why is that happening? That doesn't make any sense. Ugh, Y sorting issues, you know? So yeah, my hit impacts are disappearing behind that for some reason. Is there something about the dungeon arena that's kind of wonky here? Let's see. Oh, not the dungeon. Why do I keep opening the dungeon? Hub arena. Uh-huh. Y-sort origin. I'm curious what happens if I do this. Just move the Y-sort origin up on that a little bit. Nope, doesn't work. What is going on? Why are those bullet impacts disappearing? That's very weird. That's very weird. Okay, I can try something here. But first I'm gonna undo that change that I just made. Put that back the way it's supposed to be. So I can do this. Instantiate here. Standard impact. Where is it? Here. Add child node color rect. Okay, do you see that? So it's being sorted. It's being... Why is that happening? Maybe it's something to do with the floor? Is it something to do with the floor? Y-sort origin. No, the floors are all good. Why is that happening? Is it maybe a z-index problem? Okay. Why is that happening? Huh, that's weird. I'm good and stumped here. What is going on? Okay, I'm just gonna go one by one. Because I bet you, let me take this. I'm gonna copy this. Open up my dungeon arena. Paste my... Why can't I copy this? Copy, please. There we go. So this is working here. So this works in this arena just fine, but it doesn't work here. There's something wrong. It just straight up disappears. Do you see that? Okay, well, I guess we're gonna go figure this out. So let's go one by one here. Y-sort origin. Ordering is all good. Tile map layer. This one's all good. Telegraph probably doesn't have anything to do. Floor. Ordering 0. 0, okay. Entities. Entities. Correct. Bullets. Bullets. That's all correct. Enemy bullets, this probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but... Yep, that's all good. Foreground tile map layer. 1 Z as relative, Y-sort enabled. Yeah. I am stumped. Why is that happening? Why is that happening? Is this a... I mean, I don't want to jump too quickly to asserting that this is a bug, but this doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh, this tile map editor still needs work. So there it is. Okay, so the only thing I can think of really is that, so there's a shadow layer, detail layer. That's weird. Using the fork VS Code via VS Code to get rid of MS ads for Copilot. That's a good idea. My understanding is that a lot of extensions won't work though with VS Codium. Hello, Boogie W. Just got here. I like the floating hand animation. Thank you, thank you. Oh, sorry to hear that, Rin, but thanks for joining the stream. It's good to have you here. Are you trying to get the bullet impacts to only disappear on the down walls to match the perspective? Yeah, that's basically what I've got going on. And the down walls are... I mean, I hacked those together. Instead of trying to get the perspective right, I just created a different tile map layer here. And so this has a hard-coded index. So these down walls have an index of 1, so they render on top of everything. And that's kind of how I'm forcing that. But the thing is, like, this here should not be, like, completely hiding this color rect. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And this is my standard impact, so this is a bullet. This is a bullet impact effect that will play. And it will get spawned when it hits the wall somewhere, like, up here. But it's being hidden. It's being not rendered for some reason. And I don't know why that is, because that's not a problem, for instance, in here, which as far as I can tell has the same setup. The bullet can go, I mean, it gets clipped off when it enters like this position here. But anywhere along the wall here, it's fine. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, as I said. So yeah, it's just strange. Hello, Tupa, welcome back. Can't even tell, yeah. Did I accidentally duplicate the floor to a higher layer? Well, I double checked all that, but I will check. Maybe I should check the transforms and everything too. Add different node 2D and C. Well, it's gonna be the same. So if I just add a node 2D, sprite 2D, put the tiles in there. If I take this node 2D, bloop, it disappears, see? So it's going to be the same. So there's something wrong with this hub specifically. Always a fun time with Godot. Let's try this. -16. I don't think it's the Y-sort origin, but maybe. Oh no, that should have been updated then. So if I turn the z-index to -1, that works, which I guess was expected, but I don't want that to happen. It shouldn't be rendering behind the floor. That's the thing. So there's something wrong with this floor. But my hub level, my tiles hub here. Why am I not allowed to open this? Probably because I have a different tile map layer open. Oh wait, I'm opening the wrong one. My dungeon, everything's the same. Y-sort is all the same. That's a little bit different, but that's a different story. I don't need a navigation layer here. I'm going to delete that. What is going on? I am good and stumped. I haven't been this stumped on a Godot issue in a long time. I am good and stumped. It's not this Y-sort origin, is it? That was 16, no. I'm curious, what happens if I do it? No. So it's definitely a Y-sort issue. Yeah, I have no clue what's going on here. This is, this is one for the ages. Just bought your course on Udemy for Godot. I'm coming from Unity, so I'm super excited to finally get into Godot. Awesome. Thank you, Musky Dev. I appreciate that, and I hope you enjoy the course. Out of curiosity, which one did you get, the C# one or the GD script one? Hello, Rizlord. We have the Rizlord in the chat. Hey, which software do you use to create those pixel assets, the fonts, the rock, fire, and every other stuff? It's Sprite. It's this app here, Sprite. Fonts, I don't create my own fonts. I get fonts that I have the license to use, and I'll do some modifications to them if I need to. But yeah, I don't draw the fonts, but everything else I draw with this program here. Would it be worth making a new level and using that tile set to set up the top wall and see if it's the tile set or not? It might be. Bullet node might have some issue. Yeah, that could be the case as well. I gotta check the transforms. That's what I was gonna do. I finished the Survivors course. Was awesome and highly recommend. I'm thinking about getting the C# one now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Bullets. Transform. Transform is all zeroed out here. Transform is zeroed out here. I don't want to really modify. Let's do this. Let's take that suggestion. Let's do a new base room inherited scene. And we'll just save this as test room. Let's put the tiles hub on there. And I'm just going to paint some stuff as was suggested. Do I still have... Okay, so this is working. That's working fine. What happens if I start to add a floor? Maybe I should use my terrains here. So yeah, that works perfectly. There is something broken about this level then. Okay, before we go breaking things a bunch, let me go ahead and commit that. Tiles dungeon. Yeah, this didn't need any navigation layers. I don't think. I should probably make sure that didn't break anything. Yeah, I'm using like my own navigation regions instead of using the tile map for it. So I don't need that. Let's add the base room here. Test room. Okay. So all these things are good. So add enemy bullets layer. I'm just going to commit that before I go too deep on this. Okay, so now let's see. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to take this. Let's turn off the modulate and the fog just so I can see everything better. So this standard impact here, that's being rendered incorrectly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tile map layer. I'm going to select maybe select all that, cut it, paste it. What happens if I paint over it? That doesn't work. What is going on? I'm going mad. There is something wrong. I will find out what it is. Well, I was not expecting to get distracted this much by this issue, but there is something very wrong. I don't have any other ideas either. I mean, I guess I could just rebuild the tile map layer, but I'm not entirely sure that that would work either, but I've got nothing better to try, so... Goodbye, floor. What is that? Oh, that's, yeah. That's like a visibility notifier. Okay. This is so weird. It really looks like the floor is duplicated on the wall layer or something weird. I mean, but the thing is, like, I've got this single tile map layer here. If I get rid of this foreground tile map layer, yeah, it's just like there's no tiles here. It's like, it's just the wall and it works. It doesn't work here, but when I go to the test room, which is like functionally the same, it's fine. So I don't know, like, this is weird. This is just weird. It's using the same tile set. Everything's zeroed out in terms of the positioning. I mean, I can get rid of all that. Like, I'll just hide everything that's irrelevant here, just to be sure. Okay, so I'm just dealing with this tile map layer now, and this Y-sort. What happens if I turn that Y-sort off? I mean, that's going to break things, but... Yeah, so that Y-sort off is not going to work. It's like there's something wrong with this scene in particular. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Well, let me check chat first. I will find you and I will fix you, yeah. I realized after that what I'm saying was wrong. I thought there was a floor layer. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good thought. It's definitely a good thought. Add diff node 2D for Y-sort node and C. I already did that. There's something wrong with my hub area. Maybe clear and reset the tile set. Is it possible it's using an internal scene version of the tile map? Yeah, I'm thinking there's something wrong with the scene file. So the next thing I'm going to try is to copy over. Try placing a line of walls below that one to see if the walls, that's the problem, or the place in world space, if that makes sense. Yeah, so let's see. So a line of walls below that one. Oh, I see. Okay. Wait, did I turn Y-sort back on here? Does this layer need to be Y-sorted? I don't think so. Yeah, so it is. Interesting. Oh. I think you're right, Boogie. It's when it's in plus Y, yeah. So this is the 0 origin here. So I guess it's flipping. So if I were to do this. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That seems like a bad design. Bad engine design. So it's because this is now negative Y up here. So if it's Y sorting normally, it's going to use, let's see. If it's Y sorting normally, any value that is less. So if you're in the positive Y, any value of Y that is less than another value in the positive Y will be rendered behind it, right? So in other words, a greater positive Y value is going to be rendered in front of everything else. But I guess would that flip? No, that shouldn't flip when you enter the negative Y's, right? Because it's still the case that a value farther up is going to be lower than a value farther down. But for some reason, the Y sorting logic seems to flip when you enter the negative Y space. Is that a Godot bug? That doesn't sound right. Am I crazy or is that just wrong? You've added a bullet node and try not to Y-sort node. I'm not sure what you mean. I think we figured it out though. Yeah, I think Northern Born and Boogie W are correct. So is that an engine bug or am I not understanding something about Y-sort? Like, is there something I mean, we could go and check it out. Let's read Y-sort enabled. Nodes with a higher Y position are rendered in front of nodes with a lower Y position. If false, only if they're on the same z-index, yeah. So it says right here, higher Y position, which means higher numerically, I'm assuming. Not higher in terms of farther up the screen. So I'm curious now. I'm really curious now. If I go back to, oh, I keep switching back. Okay. So if I take this standard impact here and I move this up into, and I take this one. Oops. Yeah, I think this is wrong. I think this is bugged. Should not the red one be rendering behind? Oh wait, I'm changing the wrong thing. Whoops. Okay, so that works. So it works with regular node 2Ds, but it appears to be broken with tile maps. So that's definitely an inconsistency here. And even if I turn Y-sort enabled on the tile map itself. Oh, interesting. Oh, maybe this isn't a bug. I think this might just be a quirk of how I've got it set up. So I don't have Y-sort enabled set on the tile map itself. So I think it's just sorting the whole tile map based on its tile map position, which is 0, 0. So instead of individually sorting each of the tiles, which would happen if I turned on Y-sort enabled, it's just using the 0, 0 to determine whether the entirety of the tile map renders below everything else. So I think that's what's happening. So it's not an engine bug, it's just the quirk of how I've got it set up. So if I turn on Y-sort, then it starts to work. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Now I have to reevaluate if I need to do everything over again. I'm curious to see. Time to erase Godot bug. No, I think yeah. I thought it was a bug. I'm sorry, Godot. I'm sorry for blaming you. I think it's just the weirdness of how I've got it set up. Oops. Oh yeah, my hub arena is totally broken. Okay, so let's do this. Oops. I think it's quite a fair way for it to work as well. I guess the solution, if you don't want to change it, is just try to keep levels in -x, -y. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I think I'm going to have to change it a couple of places. I wish I could just get the normal Y sorting working, but I've got so many weird... So that works there, so that's fine. I think it's going to probably be broken for the graveyard, though. Which is fine. The graveyard's not necessarily... it's not necessary for... Oh no, that works fine. I'll probably change that at some point, but... Now the question is, do I want to try to put in the effort? I'm going to delete this test room. I don't want this anymore. Now the question is, do I want to put in the effort trying to get everything unified under a nice single Y sorting sort of system? Or do I want to just say, nope? I think what I have to do is I've got to go to my hub arena. I think, oh man, this is going to be annoying. What I need to do is take this tile map layer. Take this tile map layer here. Oh my gosh. Like this. Move it down 1. Okay, and then this foreground. What is going on? Sometimes this Godot editor usability sometimes is a little bit bad. Okay, so I just move those things down, and then same deal for the tile map layer here. Just move that down. Move that down. Move that down. Okay. Now I got to take all these entities, and these all need to have their positions changed. Oops, wrong way. Oh, that's wrong too. Do I have to do all these individually? That's fine. There's a part of me that's like being driven mad that this Y sorting situation is so messed up. But the other part of me is like, if this solution works, there's no sense in spending all the time trying to unify the Y sorting and getting everything to work nice. It's like, I feel like it's wrong and it needs to be corrected. But also, like, if it's visually correct, then I don't really want to spend the time making it technically correct. Do you know what I mean? Why did this shadow component not come with you? Oh, did I change the wrong thing? Oh, I changed the offset. Oops. Oops. Okay, now all these hat waypoints here. I guess I could have just done this the whole time. Don't tell anyone. I've been using Godot for years. Do you believe me? Oh, well, that doesn't work anyway, so never mind. Okay, I think we're all nice and good again. Is my fog still a thing here? Okay. Oh, do I need to move the fog as well? Actually, it looks fine. I guess I'll center it. Might as well. Okay. That was quite a detour, but let's see. This should work. Since Godot engine is new for me, a bit weird using a lot of auto load or global. May I know how much auto load in the game? Yeah. So I would say don't be afraid of using a lot of auto load. I mean, the only reason you should be afraid of using a lot of auto loads is if you are using them as a crutch. But if you're building a large game, there may be a good justification for having a lot of auto loads. So you want to avoid using auto loads excessively to solve code architecture problems. But if you need to use a lot of auto nodes for your game, then you should do that. So here's all the auto loads I have for Gunforged. How many is that? Like, it's over a dozen. I don't know. Maybe it's close to. It's probably not. I'm not going to count them, but that's that's how many there are. And a lot of these things, like I have an audio helper, which gives me abilities to play audio. I've got some debug stuff in here that's only going to be present for debug versions. Options, which is responsible for managing the volumes and the sounds, and will be responsible for input remapping, which, by the way, is something that I need to do. So for the demo, visual manager, which just sets some basic window stuff. I've got a screen transition, which allows me to do screen transitions. Again, debug. Input manager, this was useful. This could probably go, but this input manager was basically the central location where I could switch between controller and keyboard, but I decided to cut controller from the initial release of Gunforged, so that's not really useful anymore. Music player, self-explanatory. It's a persistent node that plays music the whole time, so that means that when you're changing scenes, the music doesn't cut out abruptly. Game events, which is kind of like an event bus to notify of global events that everything should be aware of. Floating text for spawning floating text messages like the number pop-ups. UI audio for playing clicks and other UI sounds in a central location. Cursor, self-explanatory. Pause manager, self-explanatory, I think. And statistics manager, which is also self-explanatory. So, well, this is tracking statistics while I'm playing the game. And the reason this is an auto load is because I need to preserve the statistics across scenes, right? So anyway, that's a brief overview of everything I got. What are you drinking? What's in the cup? I spilled a lot of coffee on myself. I'm not even kidding. Like, you would be forgiven for thinking that it was laced with some kind of like bourbon or something, but I don't drink alcohol in the morning, so I just missed my mouth, I guess. Autoload is weird, but I would dare say it's better than a singleton pattern because you can see them more easily. Yeah. Well, I think the nice thing about autoload is like, well, with C#, if you're using C# with Godot, you can still like use static singletons, and I'm doing that in quite a few places. But the benefit of using an autoload that kind of serves as a singleton is that because it's a node, it can listen for signals, right? So because it's a node in the scene tree, it has access to all the scene tree operations up to and including listening for signals. So an autoload is a great way to create a singleton that can respond to events in your game. So yeah. Is multiplayer hard or viable in Godot? I guess it depends on what kind of multiplayer. I would guess that if you were going to try to make an MMO that could support like 1,000 players on a server, it'd probably be relatively difficult to do. But I did make a game called Globins, which you can check out on my itch.io page. That I did multiplayer. Just it's a server authoritative multiplayer structure, but the way that Globins works is that the person who hosts the game creates the server and is a client that connects to that server, so it's all on the same machine. So it's kind of like peer-to-peer, but not really, because the host is authoritative. And so what happens is the players send their inputs to the server simulates everything, It's like the source of truth. It's where the game is actually being played. And then it broadcasts all the necessary updates to all the clients to update the enemy positions and the player positions and all that stuff. So anyway, that is all a long way of saying that it's hard. I would say that multiplayer is hard to do, generally speaking. It's hard in Godot specifically because there are very few good resources covering multiplayer development. I had to like really patchwork together a bunch of different sources to get my mind around how Godot wanted me to use the multiplayer system and how I could use it effectively. But in terms of its viability, I would say it's perfectly viable for like smaller online multiplayer games. I don't see a reason why you couldn't make like a co-op game, which I'm actually planning to do after Gunforged, make a small online multiplayer co-op game pretty easily with Godot. Should I use global state autoload for stats like current lives, current enemies, coins, etc. for a platformer? I would, so current lives, so something like lives or enemies and coins, that's all specific to the level, right? Or to the run. So like in Gunforged, the player health is managed entirely within the context of a run. There are no auto loads that know anything about the player health. So you want to keep everything encapsulated to a single run or a single level as possible, but a global state auto load for like long running statistics. So for instance, in Gunforged, I'm keeping track of the total number of bullets that you have ever fired, period. That's an auto load that listens for bullet fire events and tracks them. And the reason is because that statistic is permanent across all runs. It's always present. It's always counting. So it doesn't need to be scoped to a particular level or a particular run. So that's how I would think about that. Maybe that could be your next course. I'm actually planning on doing that after I release the multiplayer game and to learn a lot about how to make a good multiplayer. What I want to do is exactly that, is be like the definitive Godot multiplayer, you know, Udemy course. Like, here's how you make a viable commercial game using multiplayer in Godot, right? Because that's a sorely lacking resource. Will you be porting to Godot 4.4? Yes, I will. I don't know if there's going to be that much of a port effort. From what I've been following, it looks like it's just going to be a pretty straightforward upgrade, but any work that I might need to do, I will do for Godot 4.4. I'll pre-order that course right now. Thank you, Musky Dev. Also, good day, Vishal. I don't think I said good day to you, so. Okay. So is this all working now? Everything's working. Hooray, we're all happy again. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that I didn't break anything horribly. Goodness, that was a very tricky issue. Okay, everything, pathfinding and everything still seems to be working, so that's good. So yeah, all right. Goodness. So modify hub arena. Oh, did I change? I don't think I changed this center marker. This center marker is where the player spawns. I really misnamed it. It should have been called player spawn marker, but you know, that's how it goes. So I need to move that down as well. So there is that. Okay. All right. Well, that was quite a detour. Did I hear pre-order? Where's the link? Thank you, guys. Tell you what. You can help me out with the pre-order by purchasing Gunforged and the next game after Gunforged. Actually, that would be a really interesting idea. This is something that I wanted to do, is like tie my courses in with the games that I make. I think it would be a really interesting thing to do. Like, anyone who has bought and played the multiplayer game that I'm working on gets some sort of discount for the Udemy course that teaches the same concepts. I'm not going to promise anything, but I thought that would be interesting. I'm brainstorming an idea for a Brick Breaker style game with a twist of the paddle can shoot, and another secret that I'm not going to disclose here. That sounds interesting. Yeah, I think that kind of genre is really ripe for doing that kind of interesting stuff. Taking like those old arcade games and refreshing them and giving them some kind of like roguelike mechanics or something. I think there's a lot of potential there. So that sounds cool. Okay. So this task that I thought was going to be really easy ended up being quite a bit, but input remapping is going to be a very challenging one. That might actually be an interesting thing to try to figure out on stream, because as I struggle through it, everyone will see how it works. Input remapping, input remapping, input remapping. Do you guys want to do input remapping? It's probably going to be more of a struggle again, but it might be useful. So we can either do input remapping, or I can do this other stuff. I have to rework a passive because it's just not working well with the game. There's a combination of passives here that don't work when they should. So I could work on that. And then there's just some UI stuff. How long do you work on game dev daily? It depends. Like some days I don't feel like working a whole lot. Some days I work a lot. I would say yesterday I worked quite a bit. I did like 6 or 7 hours, I think, across the entirety of the day, not all at once. I would do like an hour and a half here, 2 hours there, so on and so forth. Usually I work like 4-ish hours on average per day. So I'm not like crunching or anything. So we've got a vote for, it looks like, input remapping, rework passive, Shia LaBeouf, which is not one of the options, but thank you. I'm doing input remapping right now, a bit of a pain. Yeah, I've done it. I've done input remapping on one game, and I remember it being terrible. Input map singleton. Watching you struggle live will help me feel better about my newbie game deving. Well, there's another vote for input remapping. Hello, Pocket Pixie. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. All right, so I think input remapping is going to be an interesting one to get started on. There's a bunch of interesting challenges I actually have. So for instance, one thing that I'll have to do is this key right here. It says press E to open the stats. This icon is going to have to change based on what key you've mapped it to. And there's all kinds of edge cases, right? Like what happens if you map it to a key that I don't have an icon for? Do I just display like a question mark or something? You know, so it's like, and of course, like being able to actually remap the keys, reset to the default configuration, preventing the player from getting into an invalid configuration that just breaks the game entirely. That's all going to be really difficult. So I think it'll be interesting to kind of at least get that process started in this stream. So I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to move this over on into in progress, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to see what happens. I like breakout games. As for a bit of history, the first breakout game was written way back for Atari, was written by Steve Jobs and Wozniak. Oh, I did not know that. 36 watching right now. Woot, yeah. Thank you everyone for being here, by the way. There's another vote for input remapping. Recently, deck builder strategy roguelike games are becoming popular. A lot of games are in development. Yeah, I recently played Balatro quite a bit, and that was a really fun game. Really brilliant game. Oh, the Shia LaBeouf Do It meme. I see. I'm sorry I missed the joke. I got you now. Everyone liked the stream, yes. What's a breakout game? It's like that game with the little paddles, and you have the ball that's bouncing, and you have to hit the ball with the paddle to break the blocks that are on the screen. Non-remappable pause, like escape key. Yeah, there. Like, I'm not going to make the mouse buttons remappable, at least the left and the right button remappable. Maybe I could support like mouse 5 or something. But yeah, there's going to be like escape and probably left and right mouse button are going to have to be two things that you can't remap, because as long as you can't remap those, you'll still be able to get yourself out of a bad configuration if you end up setting that up. You're welcome. Okay, so before I get into the input remapping, I need to take a quick like 1 or 2 minute break. Got to get up, get some new water, stuff like that. So clean my shirt because I spilled half my coffee on it. But while I'm on that break, I want to thank everyone for watching, who is currently watching and watching the VOD. Check out the links in the description below to figure out how you can support me if you're so inclined to do it. I've got some Udemy courses. I've also got Gunforged coming out, so wishlisting that would be a huge help. So check out those links while I'm on my short 2-minute break, and I'll be right back, and we will start work on the input remapping. So I will see you in just a minute. All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Oops. I first played Breakout game on Windows XP in 2002. Sounds about right. I just finished playing BZZT. Really cool platformer with a little Breakout minigame built into some of the levels. The art is straight up eye candy. Interesting. I'm not really that much into platformers, but that kind of fusion of platformer and Breakout sounds really interesting. I've been seeing some games that use deck cards for the player's character against the environment. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's so much, like, there's still so many ideas in sort of indie games that are unexplored. I'm constantly blown away by all the creative ideas that keep coming out. It's one of those things where it's like, dang, I wish I would have thought of that. Water, aka alcohol. Yeah. Nope. Nope. All right. So let's start with input remapping. So while I was on that break, I was doing a little bit of thinking about how I could start building this, because this is going to be a relatively complex system that's got a lot of considerations, edge cases. So I think what I want to do first is I'm going to open up this options menu. What I want to do first is I'm going to support the remapping of one action, and I'm just going to bake that right into this screen here. I'm going to get that working well, and then once I've got that one action being remapped properly, I will then move on to genericizing the solution, so making it so that it's easier to support all the actions that I want to remap. But I think the most important thing to do first is to just get a feel for how to actually modify the input map at runtime, and then also plan on saving that data to the options data file so that it can be read when the game starts up again. So that's the plan, and I'm going to actually create a new branch for this because this is going to be somewhat destructive, I think. So input remapping. Okay, so let's figure out how to do this. So we got this VBox container here. I'm not going to worry about making it nice and pretty yet, so I'm just going to say, let's just change the interact key. So interact. And here, instead of that, I'm going to do ingot button. Okay, let's set this to... I said I wasn't going to make it nice, but I do want to kind of roughly get in place what I'm trying to get in place. It's the ingot button here, so E. Okay, and then when that gets pressed, I'm going to want to listen for a key that gets pressed, or some kind of input. So this is going to be really fascinating, I think. I probably will want some kind of dialogue that pops up. But again, we'll do one thing at a time here. So interact remap button. Access as unique name. Actually, here's the thing I'm going to do first. Let's start it out so it's not saying E, because what I want to do is load the input map as it currently exists. So again, I'm going to refactor all of this once I get a hang of how to actually approach this. So let's actually take a look at the input map singleton. In the documentation, we've got an array of actions, array string name. Oh, that's just a list of all the actions. Add action. Is there no way to get the action? What about the input singleton? So this is actually all the active inputs. Input event action. Is this a static? No. Manages all input event actions. Is there no way to read the current map? Load from project settings. Let's see what Godot has to say about this. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Press any key, yeah. I wonder if this will make good weightlifting ASMR. I don't know. Well, you'll have to let me know. I decided to learn Godot by following a Unity tutorial by CodeMonkey. Made good progress, but stuck right now. A Unity tutorial? I'm not quite sure what you mean. You decided to learn, so you're trying to follow like a tutorial made for Unity, but translate it to Godot? Just ask the name of the background music you have playing. Oh, it's Lo-Fi Girl. Yeah, I don't know what the exact name of the song is, but... Do you think it's better to use singleton pattern or go entity component? Well, Red Velvet, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, there's definitely places for singletons, and there's definitely places for the entity component. Singleton is useful for like data access and reading and writing stuff and preserving data that's relevant to the entire state of the game. But I don't really use it. I mean, if you're referring to like entity component system, ECS, I'm not really doing that, but I am using a composition-based design where I compose all my entities out of modular parts, out of modular nodes. So I mean, it really depends on the use case. I think that I really like the composition-based way of designing entities because it gives me a ton of flexibility in terms of how each entity behaves while also still giving me a common set of tools and functionality that each entity share. So it kind of avoids the problem of inheritance where, your kind of inheritance structure just gets big and unwieldy the more unique enemies you want to support. But I am using singletons as well throughout the game, so it just depends on the use case, really. So does anyone in the chat know how to actually read the value of the input map? Because there's nothing like this input map singleton doesn't have any way to like get an action. Like here's get actions here, but this just returns all of the names of the actions. Do I have to do input event action dot parse maybe? Is that something? So to input event action dot new input event action. What was the documentation here? Input parse input event. Parse input event. Oh, that feeds an input event to the game. I need to extract which keys are associated with an event. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Action press. Those are all void. Input event action. Where in the world is the key? Godot wasn't really designed with ECS in mind, but nodes let you make nice components, albeit at a higher level. Yeah, I think that's right. Action get events. Oh, that's... Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Why is it called action get events? That's weird. When used in the editor, method will return events. Okay, thank you, Wouter Commander. Get the actions, then you get the events. Yeah, I actually don't want to just get all the actions blindly because I want to just be able to select or just specify which actions can be remapped. So I'll just hard code them instead of iterating over the entire input map, because then that way, like for escape, right, for the... Or no, I guess the pause. Shoot, I'm gonna have to do some work on this as well. On this input map. Okay. All right. That's interesting. I also have multiple I also have multiple options for each one. I'm gonna, you know what? We're gonna radically simplify this. Like this player information here, it supports I or tab. So that's interesting. So there's the concept of having like a secondary key binding as well. I'm trying to replicate the Unity tutorial in Godot, but I'm stuck where I cannot pass in a resource that contains some scene. It's creating some, oh, you got a circular dependency issue. Yeah, that's tricky to resolve. I could, if you're having a circular dependency issue, I would recommend doing this. Instead of storing a reference to the packed scene or the resource directly, store a reference to the path where you can load it. And then you can load it at runtime from the path instead of having it's kind of inconvenient, but that's a way that you can break the circular dependency issue. And there are, like, for export variables, there are property hints that allow you to tell Godot that this string is supposed to be a file path. And so it will open up like the file directory and everything. And then you can just like navigate to your file, double click it, and then it inserts the string path into there for you. What hobbies do I have outside of game dev? I have an aquarium with some nanofish and some shrimps. I play guitar and I do some video gaming. And what else do I do? I think that's about it. I do some reading here and there. Action get events. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Is it not like subscribing to an input action and then doing read value float? Yeah, I think I've done this before. It just, I gotta work my way through it. So we're gonna see what it ends up looking like. Yeah, exactly. Breckheck got it. As text. Okay, I'll remember as text. I implemented a rebinding a few days ago. I went with a custom button input remap button that has some export vars for the action, and that handles on rebinding. That way it's handled in one node. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I was reading delayed. No, that's fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep cleaning these up. I'm actually gonna, can I delete this whole action? Delete, 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 delete. Delete. I'm gonna have to figure out how to support multiple actions here, but are these reorderable? Oh, they are. Okay, so I assume that means that's the order that they can appear in. Okay. Or that they'll appear in when I access them. Okay. All right. So I've cleaned up my input map. It's just going to make my life easier, I think. Got rid of all the controller stuff. Alrighty. So I'm going to grab a string name reference to that interact. I'm going to create a new method, so initialize input map. Oh my goodness. Initialize input map. Okay, so let's use the wonderful advice from this chat. Input map dot action get events. So I'm going to iterate over any event that I have that I want to be able to rebind. action events. Let's do action. Well, it's just going to do this one at a time though. For events. So that's a Godot array, which is unfortunate. I'm going to take events 0.asText as recommended by Solo Leveling. And I'm going to say my interact remap button dot text is equal to that. All right, let's see if I got that much correct so far. I might have to uppercase it, right? Pog guitar is a cool instrument. I've been meaning to learn guitar someday. Yeah, it's fun. I'm not the best guitar player, but it's fun for me to just have something to do. Okay, there's my E key now, so that's good. Okay, so now we need to handle when this is pressed. Interact remap button dot pressed plus equals on interact remap pressed. Private void on interact remap pressed. Now I'm going to do something here. Public override void. Oh, this is a problem. That's not really that big of a problem yet. I'm gonna have to be careful of how I do these notifications though. Or wait, can I just do input? Let's try this. Private bool is listening for input. If is listening for input. Now the question is, EVT is input mouse or input key, input event key. Is listening for input and EVT is input event key. So get rid of any mouse motion events there. We want to do input map dot action erase events, action interact, input map dot action add event, action interact EVT. And then let's just call initialize input map again. Is listening for input equals false. EVT dot handled. How do I mark this as handled? I forgot. Oh, is it just this? I always get confused because there's a different way of doing it for GUI input as well. Yeah, right. It's accept event. Okay. That's not something that I'm going to worry about. That's the debug console anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I guess accept event isn't a thing in here, so I have to do get tree dot set input as handled. Or dot view dot get, oh no, get viewport dot set input as handled. This does not affect methods in input. Only the way, I don't know what that means. Okay, so I wonder if that's going to work. Oh, there was no link solo leveling. I'm sorry. I think links get automatically blocked. But I'll figure it out. I don't really like looking at resources. I can, I'll try to figure it out on myself, and then I'll look at stuff if I need it, but Okay. So now it should be listening R. It didn't work. I forgot to connect to the press signal, didn't I? Oh no, wait. Initialize input map. Pressed on interactive. Oh, I forgot to call. I forgot to set is listening for input equal to true. Again, this is very bare bones, so I'm gonna figure it out. Ooh, I got some new glasses. And they are available now, so nice. Okay, watch this. It's gonna work. Ready? I'm gonna press the R key on my keyboard and it's gonna work. Epic. Except now this signal pressed is already connected. Oh yeah. Okay. All right, now to see if that actually affects the game. So I press E, that works. Go into my options menu, change that to R. And now R works. Nice. Okay, maybe this won't be as hard as I thought it would be. Okay, so obviously there's still a ton of work to do, but it's working at a very basic level now, so that's good. So now got to figure out how to, I think the next big thing that I want to figure out is actually how to save this to the options file and then reload it. So I need to figure out how to actually get this like input event to be serialized. Is input event dot parse view input event, because Godot has to be able to parse, has to be able to save the event, right? So is there a way? Oh, this isn't necessary here. Get rid of that. I wonder if this will give me a clue if I look at my project settings. Object, event key. So it basically looks like it's JSON almost. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Got the controller, or got the key rebinding. I need to figure out how to save this to a file now. What happens if I do this? Is there a way to, let's see. Is there a way to load an input event from like a code or a key? Input event action. How do I save? How do I save an action to a file? So I imagine it has to do with this input event action, which I should be able to. The virtual one is not emitted by the engine. This class is useful to emit actions manually with that. Let's see. Is action pressed? Okay. as text. Yeah, that's fine. Object. Is there like a serialize in here? ToString. Yeah, I wonder, is it just as simple as, it's not as, it can't, because I don't know how to get the input from a string then. Just bought your C# course, excited. Thank you, Eric Grove. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. You'll have to let me know. You've been coming to the streams pretty regularly, so I'll be interested to hear how you like it. Well, that doesn't help at all, does it? I suppose I should look up how to do this. All right, let's see what Google has to say. Let's see what this has to say. Get scan code string. Oh, is this outdated? Input save. Oh no, that's a proposal. Save input actions to file Godot 4. Here we go. Need help on saving user-created keybinds at runtime. Input event is a resource. You can save them directly. Well, that doesn't help. Because I want to save it in... I want to save it in my JSON file. As text key code. Can I do that? Is that what as text does? Oh goodness. So much to do. I will let you know for sure. If I can get my overly analytical mind to calm down and choose an IDE, yeah. Config set value. I don't want to use config file. I want to write it to JSON. New input event. Yeah, I don't know. This documentation is a little bit obtuse. I guess I could pull up the input map that I did for another game. What game was it? I forgot which game I implemented the input map for. I need to figure out, like, what I'm missing is I don't know how to create an input event from... So input event action new. So maybe I need to do like an input event key. New input event key. Oh, is it key code? Key code. Okay, let me look at this. Key code. Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, so that is something. So can I get the key code then? So the input event is just the most basic type of input event. So I actually need to handle, if it's an input event key, I understand. Because then I can read EVT is input event key event. Then I can do here key event dot key code. Okay, that's what I was missing. Okay, so what's the difference between physical key code and key code? All right, well, like I don't know which of these needs to be set. If like the thing that I'm stuck on now is if I set the key code, so if I only save the key code to a JSON file and then I read it and I set that, is that going to update all the physical key code stuff? Or do I need to save all of this as well? I probably don't need to save the key label. I guess there's only one way to find out, really. So we've got the key code here, which is a key enum. Oh my gosh, these cats. My cats keep wanting to be buried in their blanket because it's cold, but they keep jumping out of the blanket, and so I have to keep going over and reburying them. The things we do for our animals, you know? I use OS get key code string event physical key code rather than action events. I see. Cat burrito time. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to save the key code. Okay, so let's go to my options. Manager. Options data. Let's create a new JSON property. Keybinds, public, dictionary, string. I probably want to create a different object. Keybind option .cs namespace game.data.save public class keybind option. Okay. We'll just start with that. I'm going to need to support mouse events at some point too, like at least mouse buttons, but we'll worry about that later. Call it action keybinds. Okay, so in my options manager then, what I want to do yeah, there's a lot of work that I'm gonna have to do here, but let's just create a public static void rebind action. Let's take a string name, action name, input, event, new event. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move all this stuff here. Now this erase to do shouldn't erase, but we'll worry about that later. New event, okay. If new event is input event key, then what we're going to do is we are going to say, what is it called? Options data. Yeah. Options data action is equal to new keybind option. Key is equal to new event dot key event dot key. Oh, key code. Wow, I'm just doing this action keybinds. There we go. Okay. So I can call rebind action and that will automatically update the save data. Now when I load, what needs to happen is I need to load the data, but then I need to also private static void initialize keybinds. And I'm going to call that in here in load initialize keybinds. And then in here, for each var action in options data dot action keybinds dot keys. So those are all my actions there. I want to do this. So now I need to create, so var input event key is equal to new input event key, where key code is equal to options data dot action keybinds action dot key. Okay, and then I'm going to say input map dot. You know what I could do? No, I'm not going to do that. Let's just do this. Race action input event key. I'm going to put a breakpoint there so that I can inspect what properties that all has. But so now in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call options manager dot rebind action action interact to the key event. And then I can get rid of these things. Okay, so now I need to run the game and I need to save that. So I need to run the game, change my keybind, save the options, close the game, then run it in debug mode so that I can see that object. Physical key code represents a physical location of a key on a 101, 102 key US QWERTY keyboard, which corresponds to one of the key constants. Key code is independent of keyboard layout. So should I be using key code then? So I guess physical key is useful. So like if you wanted to have WASD and movement, if you used a physical key as the binding, then that means that if somebody's using one of the weird keyboard layouts, all the keys would still be in proximity to each other, right? So like the WASD pattern would still work even if it's not the actual WASD keys. Is that the difference? Okay. R, done. Resume. Okay. So I'm curious to see now what that looks like. Options.json, keybinds, interact key 82. Ooh, that's ugly though. Gotta make it proper JSON. Okay. Okay, so that data's saved. So now let's go ahead and run it in debug mode in with the debugger here. Okay, so now I can take a look at this action here. Key code, key equals R. Key label equals none. Location. Unicode. Physical key code. None. Yeah, so none of those things are being automatically determined from this. So that might be a problem, but I'm curious to see if that works anyway. I think I need to make it even more sophisticated though. Yeah, so that works. Okay. What I want to do is I want to check this here. Options. So this key event, key label R, key code R, physical key code R. Yeah, so the problem is this, the way when I'm pressing the key from the keyboard, it's coming back very rich. It has all this data, this physical key code, the label, etc. But when I reconstruct it just from one piece of data, it's yeah, it's not great. Is there like a two? Is there like a to JSON that I can use? JSON.stringify? What happens if I do that? I'm curious now. I'm very curious now. JSON.stringify. gd.print. JSON.stringify key event. Is that going to give me all the relevant data I need? That's not JSON. Input event key, key code 69. Nice. Mods, none. Physical, false. Where's all the rest of it? Where's the physical key code? Well, that's not useful at all. All right, well, maybe I'll just have to pick out the pieces of data that I want to save. I need to figure out better, like, what I should actually be saving, the physical key code or the actual key code. And print that there. Maybe calling as text will force it to reconcile what the key actually is. R, okay. As text physical key code. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I can just store the key code. Unset. So maybe I'll store both. Oops. That's also a key. So maybe I'll store both. Just in case. I mean, it can't hurt, right? I mean, or should I only be using physical? I don't know what the best practice is. My guess is I probably should be only using physical. Yeah, I'm going to need to do some research on that because I just don't know what's more appropriate here. I don't have any experience with handling weird keyboard layouts and whatnot. And by weird, I mean anything that's not a US QWERTY layout. So I'm going to have to do some research on that before I go too deep into this. But I think that generally speaking, I've got an approach in place now where I can rebind things. So from here on out, it's mostly just a matter of making sure that the correct data is being saved, handling the edge cases, making sure there's no collisions in terms of the input map, making the UI nice and usable for that, potentially supporting multiple actions multiple events, input events per action. So if you want to have like WASD and arrow movement for some reason, but it's more common for like bringing up the inventory, right? I and tab should bring up the inventory. So maybe being able to handle that kind of situation. So there's a lot to consider, but most of that is just like UI and UX considerations. There's not really any sort of technical barriers remaining, I don't think. I think the stuff that I've worked through on the stream, I've pretty much figured out the technical barriers, what I need to do. And so it's just a matter of, again, making sure that I'm saving the correct data so I can reconstruct the input map on load. So yeah, all that said, I think I got a path forward on this. So, hey, Pocket Pixie, I also have the Godot C# course. Excellent. Thank you. Hello, Zout. I purchased your courses on Udemy and didn't realize until after that the two are in GDScript and other in C#. Or am I blind and you have different courses for each language? Yeah, I've got 2 GDScript courses and 1 C# course. So, and they're all different courses. So there are 3 courses total. The platformer course is for Godot 3, so it's a lot outdated. The Vampire Survivors course, or the Survivors Roguelike course, is Godot 4, but it's GDScript. And then the C# course is Godot 4 and also, C#. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if you can grasp one language, you can grasp both of them. So, but you're always welcome. Like if you don't feel comfortable doing C# or GDScript, whichever one, you're always welcome to refund. Udemy has a generous refund policy. So if you got a language that you weren't expecting, I would encourage you to feel free to refund if it's not working for you. But in terms of the difficulty, I think you'll have no problem getting the grasp of GDScript and C#, especially if you have some prior programming experience. Okay, cool. So I'm going to end the stream there. Thank you all for your help. Thank you all for watching. It was a lot of fun today. Got not as much done as I had hoped, but I think still made some good, like, invisible progress in terms of my understanding of how certain things are working. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and commit this actually. Initial work on input map. But I want to thank you all again for watching. And before I go, let's see. As a beginner in general with programming and Godot, is the Vamp Survivors course a decent jumping in spot or too advanced? Well, so I will preface this by saying that all of my courses presuppose some programming experience, some familiarity with programming. And the reason is because none of my courses focus on programming fundamentals. So I don't explain really like what a variable is or what a function is. I sort of expect you to have a basic understanding of what those things are and the basic programming flow. That said, you know, it's up to you. Like if you find that you're the kind of person that picks up new concepts relatively quickly, then give it a try and see how it works for you. But the courses are recommended for people who have some programming experience. That said, if you wanted to go into it as a complete beginner, I think the Vampire Survivors course is a good one to do it with, just because trying to learn programming and a game engine at the same time is going to be much easier if you're not using it like C#, which has its own kind of idiosyncrasies with how you're supposed to use it. So that's what I would say to that. But so yeah, thank you again, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in supporting my work, check out the links in the description below. You can wishlist Gunforged, which is going to be out within the next couple of months. The new demo for Gunforged, I'm going to try to have the demo out early next week, the updated demo, so everyone can play it. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to my newsletter at firebelly.com to be notified when that goes live. And I also send out periodic updates on my progress doing this indie game stuff. And then, of course, if you'd like to financially support me before the release of Gunforged, you could purchase one of my Udemy courses. So thank you again, everyone, for watching. All your support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one. So have a good day.